Good Saturday afternoon, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center with a tornado warning now for parts of Early County in southwestern Georgia. We have a pretty tight circulation, and we're getting updates from the Weather Service on it at about 12:56 Eastern, 11:56 Central. Is located about 7 miles south of Columbia or 15 miles southwest of Blakely there, moving north at about 25. There is a little bit of an easterly component with this, though it does look like, as you can see here as we put the motion on. So a pretty tight circulation just now moving in towards southwestern Georgia. You can see here as we're looking with the brighter blues, that's winds there that are going toward the radar at Fort Rucker about 61.5 miles an hour, and then we're going away from the radar here at about 23.5. So that gets us there about gate to gate. Yeah, as we get the latest scan now, the latest scan just coming out. So now it looks like gate to gate is about 80 miles an hour or so in this area as we're looking at a pretty sparsely populated area overall. Luckily, the road just might have passed over, not really showing up, but we'll go ahead and back this up just a little here as we see getting down toward the south here, the circulation coming into parts of southwestern Georgia over the last few minutes. You can see it here really tight. Let's check for tornado debris. Haven't heard anything in the chat about it, and right now not seeing that. We're looking less than 2,000 feet up, so if there was something here, you definitely could see it. But these tropical tornadoes are pretty hard to be able to distinguish in terms of that tornado debris sometimes. So may have a tornado underground, don't know for sure here, but tornado warning in play for parts of Early County and southwestern Georgia until 1:15. And I will say one good thing about this storm is that the circulation not really co-located as much with where the reflectivity would suggest maybe that should be in a situation like this when we generally would have a tornado. But as I back this up, you see here that was just so tight. It had to issue this warning here as we go back up once again. But again, maybe the reflectivity not matching up perfectly where that circulation generally would be in a tornado producing storm. So with the actual velocity images there. So again, the tornado warning in play at 1:15. I'll go ahead and kind of take off our tracking Claudette information. Again, of course, we're tracking that. This is there on that eastern periphery if you're just wondering what's going on. We're definitely keeping our eyes on Claudette. But again, this is a tornado warning right now here until 1:15. So you just want to go ahead and get as many walls between you and the outside as possible here in this area. I just want to seek shelter though to make sure you're not outside. I know it's a holiday weekend, so you just got to be careful out there. Protect yourself with that flying debris, protect yourself from that flying debris with a bicycle helmet. So again, I just want to be really careful here with a possible tornado in southwestern Georgia to 1:15, a pretty rural area, but we always cover tornado warnings in parts of our area, any part of our area, when they have a potential to affect some of our viewers here. So just moving away from Alabama, which is not in our area, and towards southwestern Georgia into Early County, which is in the viewing circle. So again, a possible tornado here in southwestern Georgia. I'll check for debris once again here, and we would see a drop out, and there is a little something there. So there could be something, but it's not definitive, which is good at least. Not a definitive debris signature, but could be something trying to drop out there within correlation coefficients. So something to be mindful of for sure. But again, things don't match up good at all here. Generally, you expect the radar to match up with the actual circulation with that velocity on the Doppler radar, that velocity couplet. So again, we're going to continue to watch this. Let's go ahead and zoom back on out, see the rest of our Tallahassee area here, Roy, and then we'll kind of talk about some more things. You see, that's the only game in town right now whatsoever toward parts of southwestern Georgia, south central Georgia, the Big Bend, which is good news, of course. But you see the line off toward the west here as we're getting closer in toward Claudette. You don't see much with that either here at this moment. But again, this rogue storm, a possible tornado producing storm here at 1 o'clock Eastern, 12 o'clock Central, as we're moving from the central time zone there in Alabama, Houston County, into Early County in Georgia. a possible tornado. As you see some lighting there on the screen as well. Things again don't match up all that good. So that is a good sign at least that we're not seeing something really robust. It's a little unusual actually to see that velocity so displaced from the reflectivity here. So something to kind of bear in mind as we look at upscale growth here. You see some of that with this, but our echo tops overall are not going to be high because this is a low top supercell type of scenario. So again, we're going to go ahead and zoom back on out just a bit. You see here our circulation, our road's not really showing up, meaning they're not too big of ones here in this area. Again, the tornado moving a little bit easterly, but mainly to the north here. You see our shear markers showing on up in our system. If this holds together, moving toward County Road 81 here over the next few minutes. So tracking this up even further here as we get closer toward Columbia, which is in parts of southeastern Alabama, but just over the line in South Georgia, we have County Road 5 potentially in the path, or maybe a little bit easterly of that, we're going to be having to watch areas around Old Cedar Spring Road. So again, a possible tornado here in southwestern Georgia this afternoon. Just want to go ahead and get as many walls between you and the outside as possible here, trying to be on to protect you guys here this afternoon. Checking on some of the latest information behind the scenes here. Again, watching that spin, watching a possible tornado. A tornado warning has been issued for parts of Early County in southwestern Georgia until 1:15 this afternoon. So again, get as many walls between you and the outside as possible here in this vicinity. Watching that circulation within the Doppler radar here. So I just want to go ahead and make sure you're taking shelter. We have our system Claudette, as you'll be able to see on our rod view in a moment. We also have a tornado watch and play that we'll kind of talk about here more in just a second. So let's go ahead and talk over that over on our GR Earth computer now. So let's go over to that system over to show you the broad perspective here. And you do see the polygon just updated, still parts of Houston, just a small sliver at this point in southeastern Alabama, but also parts of early and southwestern Georgia. The tornado warning does continue to 1:15. You see in the yellow a tornado watch and play until 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central Time here in toward parts of southeast Alabama, the Florida Panhandle, as we don't have any of our Eastern time zone counties or zones under the tornado watch here at this point. So it's just a southwestern Georgia and Georgia County thing when we're talking about Eastern time, with this extending until 8 o'clock tonight as we have conditions favorable for tornadic conditions in and close to the watch area. You can see here as I take off the radar, this goes all the way up there as we're looking toward LaGrange, Georgia. You see just to the south of that, Phoenix City, Columbus under this though. As we continue to watch this threat, you do see here our tornado warning polygon is trimmed back a little bit, really rural area, but again covering our area the best we can here, as we do have it as a 102, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located near Columbia or 12 miles southwest of Blakely, moving generally north at 20. We have this storm near Columbia here in just the next few minutes. And then as we get over toward, it looks like the Farley nuclear plant and Salhatchee, they're also in the path potentially of this tornado according to the Weather Service in Tallahassee. So let's check our rotation track over the last little bit. You can see why they issued this, even if things weren't co-located enough there. You can see that shear path really showing things as it tracked from parts of the Florida Panhandle in toward southeast Alabama, and now getting that tornado warning here as we get toward parts of southwestern Georgia as it did transition over. You're watching this here very carefully. You see that rotation on the Doppler radar. Let's go back on over toward our actual reflectivity view now. Again, this is the only game in town. Kind of interesting to see them issue this warning here, but you just got to always be cognizant. And this storm over the last hour has produced some rain as well, and you can kind of see that path there because of it being so discrete, so isolated. As we go now on over toward our energy values. We have some of those out there mixing with our tornado parameters, which aren't as impressive as they are off to the west. You see off toward the west, they're really impressive there. So that's something we'll watch to see if they kind of translate off here later. But the action not as discrete there, so the storms in general aren't able to take advantage as much of the more favorable conditions. But you do see over the Gulf of Mexico some more action trying to come in that is a little more isolated, so something we'll watch here for sure. But again, a tornado warning for parts of Early County in southwestern Georgia until 1:15 this afternoon on this Saturday. I know some of you having Father's Day weekend type plans here, so holiday weekend type plans. You just got to be cognizant here of what's going on as you're out and about. You just want to take shelter, move to a basement if you have one, or an interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building. Avoid those windows. If you're outdoors, in a mobile home or in a vehicle, move to the closest substantial shelter and protect yourself from flying debris here in this area. Again, you see that hook, that kidney being safe. It's pretty classic, except for the fact the radar doesn't really match up all that much with the actual reflectivity. And I'm talking about the velocity scans more, what I mean by that. But checking some more things that are behind the scenes. Still could be having a tornado on the ground here. So let's go ahead and pop up our velocity once again. So velocity there, our circulation, I'll put a red dot where that generally is, and then our reflectivity now showing things really displaced. Interesting to see that, honestly. But the circulation will be near, it looks like, State Road 370, the Great Southern Highway there, as we go over toward correlation coefficient. You see a little something there, a little bit of that circulation showing up with our serum marker, and then kind of bouncing back and forth. You do see a little dropout, so there could be something here bringing up some debris, but it's not a certainty. Kind of something that's hard to say for sure, as we just got a new update. Looks like they're going to go with another tornado warning. Sometimes in these situations, I think you can have these displaced enough where even if it doesn't look like it, doesn't look like maybe that tornadic circulation's matching up, you gotta just be taking precaution here. As a new tornado warning now until 2 o'clock for parts of Early County. Granted, it may not go that long, as some of these don't last this long in particular, but new tornado warning until 2 o'clock now. Talking about a tornado located over Columbia, or 10 miles southwest of Blakely there, moving off toward the north at 30, but again, there's an easterly component as well here with this. So let's go ahead and see that polygon on our other mode of the Doppler now. You see that here, our new tornado warning until 2 o'clock. So there's your circulation southeast of Columbia here, moving over generally toward Luke over the next little bit. So we're going to be starting to get into some more cities as we're talking. Go ahead and zoom on out just a little bit here as we track this. Blakely, it'll be near there by about 1:20 or so. We also have other locations impacted by the tornadic thunderstorm that include but are not limited to, it looks like, Rock Hill, the Farrell Crossroads, Hilton, Salhassie, as well. It looks like, as if I'm going to pronounce this right, if I'm pronouncing this right, it's going to be a Kulamoki there if we're tracking it toward that spot there. That's one of those spots that we have to kind of be cognizant of. So again, tornado warning till about 2 o'clock this afternoon. Take shelter here. If you're in the path of this, you see that movement here. You see the polygon showing a little bit of an easterly movement with this. In terms of hail, we're not really seeing that. This is just a rotating type storm here that could be producing a tornado. So, got to be taking shelter here. You see up toward the north, some more counties in the path as we get later downstream there. Of course, if this gets out of Early County and holds together, be tracking more in toward parts of Clay County, Georgia, and maybe even in toward parts of Randolph County later on. So that's something I'll be watching out for here, but hopefully it didn't hold together that long. Isolated like this, though, it is able to take advantage pretty much of all the energy, all the shear that's out there. Really isolated here this afternoon. So we'll keep you updated. Again, the system, the center of our storm off toward the west here. That's something we'll continue to watch out for, of course. as we are tracking the grand scheme of things. We'll take a break here pretty soon since the new warning was issued. We'll kind of show you some satellite images here real quick though, what's happening. See if you can get a different perspective from this. So there's your tornado warnings there, and you see the storm system, the thunderstorms more concentrated off toward the west, but just on the eastern periphery here, getting some rotation. And we have our system here, system off toward the west here and toward parts of southern Mississippi with the actual circulation itself. But again, just kind of watching things. I have the meso satellite on right now, so we can kind of just focus on this area. So that's why you see things kind of cut off. It's not like the accent's completely cutting off, but again, you see here our circulation moving in toward parts of southwestern Georgia here, in toward parts of Early County, getting there even further. So we got to watch out. Take shelter if you're on Luke, if you're there on the west side of Blakely, even if you're in Blakely proper, maybe just want to go and take shelter as well here. As a tornado warning now extended until 2 o'clock here for parts of Early County. We'll be back in just a few minutes with more information here, folks, so stay tuned. Meteorologist Casey Cloud back here tracking this tornado warning storm in parts of Early County, Georgia right now. You see that hook on this, not as well defined as it was maybe a few minutes ago, especially as we go over toward our GR level 3 computer. You'll be able to see that even better. That's some good news here. But we still have some circulation. The tornado warning does continue, but that circulation has weakened a pretty good bit over the last few scans. That's some good news. If this trend does continue, that tornado warning probably drop, but you don't want to let your guard down here because we've seen this accent be kind of pulsing back up at times, pulsing back down more though. I know as we were looking off earlier, we saw stuff kind of pulse down pretty quick, which is a good sign. But as I say that, you still see a TVS trying to set up a tornado vortex signature. So I just gotta be on your toes here as we're looking, as we're getting toward this area here. Watching the spin near Chauncey Mill Road there. So again, just go ahead and take your tornado precautions. At least going to be moving up toward Chauncey Mill Road in the next few minutes in general. as we're kind of watching things pass on by and really become loosely organized. Just as they extended that warning, this is starting to fall apart, to be honest. But they are continuing it. They are continuing it for now. As we're going to have to watch near Rock Hill Road as well, kind of getting there in between Chauncey Mill Road and Rock Hill Road with this potentially. I know we're a little bit away, not too far away, but a little bit away on the radar, so it's not going to match up perfect, but you kind of get the idea here as we're watching this general vicinity, the circulation here in toward this area. So just want to be taking your tornado precautions here in this region. You see here there are a little bit of things down here as we're getting on the actual street level mapping. Not too much though overall. You see some things of interest there in this region as we're getting toward parts of Early County. Again, that circulation a lot weaker. Great news, but don't let your guard down here quite yet. But we'll probably be able to wrap this up pretty soon if the trends do continue with the tornado warning technically until 2 o'clock. But again, the circulation has really fallen apart in the last few scans here as it gets further to the north here. And in fact, looking at some of our other tools, the energy values drop off as we get further up toward the north here. We'll go ahead and see that on our G-Earth computer now. You see surface-based Cape really falls on off as we get up toward Cuthbert there a little bit more. You see these numbers kind of dropping there as you see our tornado parameters pretty uniform, but maybe a little less up that way as well. So again, that's some good news here as we go between some of our different energy values. Looking there, some of our other tools that we have at our disposal. So again, just continue to watch this here, that circulation, that storm all by itself. If you're watching here from the first coast, north central Florida, we're all dry right now. Might get some afternoon storms later. You always have to kind of watch in this scenario for enhanced action at times with that. As we take a look at some of the temperatures around, you do see mid-upper 80s, so that's something that'll be worth watching to see if we get some enhanced action later on. But no really direct impacts towards Startup, Jacksonville, Gainesville from this system. Now up toward the north, that we have the tornado watch in play till 8 o'clock tonight in the yellow there. We're watching this threat as things could kind of spin up from time to time here as we look down toward Donaldsonville, Colquitt, Blakely, also toward Edison, Morgan, Cuthbert, Selman, as well as Dawson here, all under a tornado watch, even getting over toward Quitman County, Georgia as well there. So just continue to watch this threat here. Temperature's cooler there, but still warming up, getting that mixing. Sometimes in a tropical system, when you have that sunshine mixing on in there, it kind of helps to fuel things. And when you have that shear, again, those combine, and those could be problematic. So we'll continue to watch this storm, even though the circulation has weakened a fair bit, even though it's showing up pretty good on this mode. So let me check to make sure it hadn't re-strengthened on us. They're keeping it right now. And you got to keep in mind, could be a little bit about the angle of the radar too, that this might be weakening a little bit more as it is. So on the radar, it might be weakening a little bit less actually though than what the radar shows. Not 100% sure, but I do think there's a pretty good bit of weakening. I'm a little surprised that weather service hadn't gone ahead and dropped this warning, so I don't want to have you let your guard down here and then something drop, because sometimes you don't need much on radar to actually get a circulation to drop here with a debris signature popping on up. There's a little bit of something on correlation coefficient as I'm looking at that right now, but it's not really enough to show at this point. But still watching here as we get toward Chauncey Mill Road there. This is actually going to cross on Chauncey Mill Road, because Chauncey Mill Road, the way it is here, I'll go back on over now. Chauncey Mill Road extends a pretty good bit here, so depending on where you're at. I know I was talking about it between Chauncey Mill Road here, maybe in Rock Hill Road, but it actually probably crossing Chauncey Mill Road is we're watching this though west of Rock Hill Road in this area. So I'm not too familiar with this community as we're getting out here, but this is in the western part of the covered area, so I want to make sure we're on here this afternoon, trying to keep you up to date. Again, you see the greens and reds not matching up too well. That's good news, but still the tornado warning does continue technically until 2 o'clock. Again, we're watching things in this area pretty carefully to make sure things don't reemerge here. I know we're also looking at some of our model data as well here. I know I have this pulled up from a little bit earlier on, so let me go ahead and get this kind of loaded into the system here. I'll go ahead and run the updated scan since we're not on camera. Now, sometimes when we're on camera, might kind of cause us to lose a little bit on the camera there, lose a few frames. But since we're not on camera, not as concerned about that. So I'm going to run the latest updates here on this real quick just to kind of get a gauge on what may be happening here in the general vicinity with the overall threat. So I just kind of want to walk you hour by hour through this since we won't be on necessarily unless we have tornadic storms popping up or maybe severe thunderstorms as well. But again, I know you can also get those automated alerts, Cloud_WX on Twitter. We haven't been retweeting as much over there. Just trying to make sure you guys see those alerts on that account here as you kind of go out and about as those do come down from the Weather Service. But let's go over now toward our GR model system. We have that loaded on up now. We have the latest information in that. This is what it looked like here a little bit earlier on. And in fact, I'll zoom out just a little bit more to see the grand scheme of things. So this is kind of what we were tracking a little while ago with this. And then as we kind of advance the clock here to about 1 o'clock, it's doing a pretty good job overall with the line to the west, max and discrete here to the east. It's doing a little more than what's actually happening though. So that's good news in some ways. Maybe not going to be quite as bad here in the shorter term as we're looking. But then you see this, you see some action, and then it kind of falls apart. Maybe getting a lull here in the action for a while. And you see maybe something else right around 4 before the line starts to enter here. Maybe getting some damaging gust at times, depending on how things kind of set on up. I'll kind of move the map down a little. You see here some of that action, even in the coastal waters. That's something to watch out for. We'll go ahead and now zoom on out just a little bit more. As you kind of see here, this is around, it looks like when the tornado watch is set to expire, it could definitely still have threats around as we get here toward 1Z, not 1 o'clock, 1Z, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock here, depending on what time zone you're in. And then you see maybe some action isolated even toward the first coast, but more action there off toward the west. They'd be capable of maybe tornadic weather before we see stuff weaken again, strengthen back up here later on. So we're watching, we'll be keeping you up to date. Let's go ahead now and take off the model though. This is, by the way, the view about 4 a.m. So still going to be watching things as we get into Sunday morning with a tornado threat persisting around here. So just got to stay tuned, of course. Stay weather aware, have multiple ways to get those alerts. We'll go back on over now toward our velocity view on the radar here. Continuing to watch things carefully as things start to maybe ramp back up. Yeah, they're ramping back up here, folks. So the Weather Service maybe making a good decision here, not dropping this tornado warning as we're looking toward Freeman Road. Also getting closer toward County Road 113 now, so starting to ramp back up. I know it doesn't match up good at all with the radar, but still just got to be cognizant of what can be happening here in this vicinity. Again, a possible tornado occurring here in parts of southwestern Georgia, Early County here. You see, as we go between our different modes, maybe some inflow with this. That could be what that is right there. Not a certainty, but definitely looks like that could be some inflow on this. It's odd to see the circulation not quite matching up here. As I look at the clocks, they do match up, so it's not anything with our radar and our velocity being displaced. The circulation there with the red dot and our actual radar to the north, so things don't match up well, which is generally a good sign, but still you never know what could be reaching the surface in this tropical scenario. You have some lightning here, so got to be aware, and if this does hold together out of this warning polygon, we thought it was weakening pretty clearly on the radar, but now since it's re-evolving, we got to start watching up toward the north again here as we get toward Clay County, Georgia. I see getting here toward Randolph County in Georgia, so things can change quickly in these tropical environments. This storm with a history of holding together. Some of the others earlier really fell apart pretty quick there after a while, but this one really strengthening once again. It looks like as we get here on the north side or just north of Luke here, as you see velocity numbers here, about 25 one way, 57 the other way. So that gets us to about 82 miles worth of circulation. So still got to be taking shelter in this area. Get as many walls between you and the outside as possible as you look at the tornado watch continuing there until about 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock tonight, depending on what time zone you're in. Let me go ahead now and switch over toward some other modes again of our Doppler, trying to keep you up to date, of course, on what's going on here with everything. You see what we're viewing here, that's from a little bit earlier on as we were looking at that rotation. I mean, I'm even looking at Eglin right now, and I'm seeing the rotation off of the Eglin radar, looking really high up. I happen to have that up still, so kind of interesting there to see that as things are actually not looking quite as displaced on that, which is interesting. We're looking higher up, so kind of a different type of view, but still kind of interesting overall there with that perspective. So we'll go back on over. You see our shear rate showing up pretty high on this mode here, and in fact just continuing to watch that, continuing to look at some of our different vantage points. I'll go over toward that Eglin view now. Here you see the rotation there as we get here toward the western sides, maybe a Blakely. You see the greens and reds coming together and things matching up better actually on the radar. So just something to consider, that different vantage points give you different views. We are scanning higher, so maybe not reaching the surface, but you just never know here. Maybe something going on with the Fort Rucker radar appear as if it's not matching up when maybe something actually is matching up. It's hard to say for sure. I kind of don't think so, but not 100% sure there. So you just got to be taking heed nonetheless here in toward this area. We'll go back on over now toward our DR level 3 out of Fort Rucker. You see the spin here showing up really tight right there around Union Road. Again, we're looking at Southwestern Georgia as we get the latest updates in from the radar there. We just have to be kind of cognizant of what's going on here in this area. Eventually, as this holds together, State Road 39 will be impacted, so just be kind of watchful here of what's going on. Watching eventually toward Clay County, Georgia, Randolph County here, so just got to be careful. You see that inflow, and then as we kind of go on over here to see if things match up in terms of the actual tornadic circulation. This right here would be the inflow, I think, and that does look like it here, though there's a little bit of rotation on that southern edge, I suppose. I do think overall that would be inflow here, maybe into the storm. We'll just continue to watch this as a tricky little supercell that's evolved, holding together, holding its own here. Weakened for a little bit, it looked like, but re-strengthening once again, so they got to keep this warning, it looks like, in play here. And still till 2 o'clock, and that's actually showing up the tightest maybe it has, as we just get the update here now from the Weather Service. I mean, our rotation tracker really showing this well here, so let me go ahead and go on over now toward that. You do see here 21 knots there. Well, I guess that's not what we're really tracking on the scale, but you get the idea here. We're tracking this pretty tight on our other scale, on our shear rate scale, getting those really high values showing up. So again, watching this carefully here as we put back on the radar. Just got to get people on the path here in Southern. You see, that's about the tightest circulation we've had. So interesting to see how it kind of dropped off there for a bit, but now again coming back with this that circulation, that wind shear showing up pretty high in toward this area. Again, watching this carefully, watching this discrete storm. Eventually it'll be out of the area, but it'll probably take a while. So boy, it'd be helpful if we had this kind of weaken on down, because we don't want to waste all of our energy on one storm. But it is important, of course, for the people in this area to know what's going on, so they can take shelter to protect themselves here this afternoon. I'm talking about my energy, by the way. It'd be great if the actual atmospheric energy was reduced by this storm here, but just talking about having to be on all afternoon here for an isolated storm here in this area, of course. In these tropical setups, you just kind of want to make sure that you're able to rest up as much as you can, the best you can, because just so much can happen. But the track here off toward the north 25, but there is an easterly component here, so maybe talking about over an hour before it gets out of the area, maybe close to an hour and a half. So we'll just continue to watch for that here in this vicinity. Zooming back on out again, you see the line off toward the west. Luckily, the flash flooding thread's kind of fallen off some. Just one flash flood warning. That's for parts of western Escambia and south central Alabama, eastern Escambia and northwestern Florida, southwestern Okaloosa and northwestern Florida and Santa Rosa there as well until 4:30 Central Time. At 10:30, they were watching that flash flooding threat, though in the last hour. Not quite as much rain trending in the same spots here as what we were seeing earlier, but still some areas getting upward of 2.5 inches. This area moving closer toward Crestview here, so something to be watching there. Eventually seeing this banding get closer to our region, but again, right now, overall things pretty calm here on the radar, with the exception from in our area of the tornado warned storm. You see here some lightning around Blakely, and then as we go over toward our shear rate product, you do see some really high shear showing up there north of Luke, so gotta be in shelter there. Just gotta be taking tornado precautions. Yeah, wow, we're really getting this up now over on our GR level 3 computer as we get here near Grimsley Mill Road. Grimsley Mill Road, folks. So that's the sear now, so up close to 90 miles an hour. And we have that pink and that lighter green coming together. I mean, if you talk about the blue to the north and the pink, that's 110 miles an hour of shear. Actually, that's matching up better now, folks. That's starting to match up a little bit better. So this is definitely strengthening. Gotta be in shelter here. You can't let your guard down in these type of scenarios. And we'll see if there's any type of debris drop out here. Checking for that. We're checking here for that. It could be something hard to say, but again, you see that C shape there on the radar. Things showing up a little bit better now in terms of the reflectivity. We are looking higher up too, but still you're seeing things kind of match up a little bit better. So you got to take shelter. You got to be inside, away from windows. Get as many walls between you and the outside as possible here in Early County. So we're going to take a quick break in the cover. Be back in just a few minutes, but please take shelter. It's moving toward areas there around Grimsley Road. We were just around Grimsley Mill Road. Now getting toward Grimsley Road here in this area, eventually towards State Route 39. So take shelter, take your tornado precautions. We'll be back in just a few minutes here as you track a tornado warning storm in Early County. The rest of the area pretty dry, pretty calm, but here in our far western zones here, a possible tornado on the ground with a very isolated storm. Back here in the Weather Center, we now have a radar confirmed tornado in Early County. Weather Service talking about this in the chat session, maybe even having to continue the warning into Clay County, Georgia here over the next little bit, as there's a low correlation coefficient signature that has led to the tornado confirmation here. So we have a tornado on the ground, it looks like, as we go between the different modes of the Doppler. You see some of that lowering here within the CC values as we get in really tight. We're going to go ahead and switch on over now. We're going to switch on over as we're looking near State Road 39, State Route 39. Give me just a second here. Just checking some information in the chat session. Again, a possible tornado in this vicinity off the Fort Rucker radar. Just want to go ahead and get as many walls between you and the outside as possible here. I know meteorologist in the chat was just talking, a meteorologist talking about how maybe a debris signature popping up on all the radars there, Rucker, Eglin, Tallahassee at the same time. If that's the case, then that means this might be getting up there pretty high. So I'm going to check Eglin actually to see if we're getting that over there. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. So this is getting really high up there, meaning this might be a stronger tornado here, folks. So let me go ahead and switch you on over. I know this is higher up, but this kind of tells you about what's going on here this afternoon. So let me go ahead and switch that in. You can see that debris signature there. Just having crossed, it looks like State Route 39 there. This is 7,000 feet up, so indicative of maybe a stronger tornado having touched down in this area in just the last little bit. So you see something there on that latest scan as well. We're checking that could be something that's not debris, not 100% sure, but on that last scan, it seemed a little more obvious that that probably was debris there in this area. So something to be cognizant of for sure. These tropical setups are a little bit harder to figure out, but I'm going to go ahead and switch this one over to Tallahassee's radar here. So we'll go back on over to that system in just a moment. I want to see what that's showing, because that would be giving us another look here into this storm, another vantage point higher up, granted, but sometimes higher up can see some different things as well here that you're not able to see at the lower levels. So if that debris is being lofted that high up, that is problematic, because that means we're talking about maybe a higher probability of this being more like an EF2 type tornado, which you don't get that often here in these tropical setups. So we really have to be careful here. I know you don't have cities on this map, so let me go ahead and zoom back out. This is because it's pretty rural, which is good news, but again, we're talking about here our shear maybe gate to gate close to about 100 miles an hour or so in this vicinity. So you just got to be cognizant of what's going on here, folks. You just got to be getting as many walls between you and the outside as possible. So this is a new tornado warning now until 2:45 for parts of Clay and Randolph counties. The tornado confirmed near Blakely, moving north at 30 miles an hour. A little bit of an easterly component, though, as well, as I've been referencing here this afternoon. But again, a tornado on the ground here in parts of Early County, transitioning over into Clay County, Georgia, not Florida, but also Randolph County, Georgia as well. As we're looking at some different scans, yeah, the Tallahassee radar is showing what looks like could be debris as well at about 7,000 feet. So we're getting close there to that strong tornado threshold possibly here as we look at the Tallahassee radar. You see some of that showing on up here, unfortunately, as we're getting toward parts of areas here off toward the north. This is a damaging tornado. Located again near Blakely, going to move in here in toward parts of Clay in Georgia, Randolph in Georgia, mainly over rural areas of southeastern Clay and southwestern Randolph. But it does include the following locations: Harrison's Mill, as well as it looks like Belleville, Coleman, Bluffton, Sutton's Corner, and the Randolph County Airport. So again, a tornado on the ground now. You need to be in shelter here if you're in this area. A tornado debris signature has been detected. We're looking off of Tallahassee because that shows you some things that are going on. There's a chance this could just be inflow, but based on it showing up on all the radars, I do think, and based on how our shear's been showing up as well, and with the Weather Service confirming it too, I think this probably has to be tornadic debris in here, which is not good because we're talking about over 7,000 feet up. This showing up here, so people need to be in shelter here in this area. Gotta be in shelter here. in toward parts of southwestern Georgia. And in fact, I'm going to go ahead and go over to Twitter real quick to make sure everybody's kind of aware of what's going on here if they're not watching the video continuously, because we need folks here in the path of this to be taking action to protect themselves, protect maybe their life in some of these circumstances here. So again, just going ahead and looking here at some other sources with that spin. The tornado warning first to 115, then 2, and now to 245. So again, just gotta be really careful in this scenario. I'm gonna see if there's something I can go ahead and retweet over on my Twitter account here that'll kind of let everybody know about what's happening here in this situation. Because again, if people are traveling, they might not know exactly what is going on here in this vicinity. So pretty low population overall in the new warning. It's 862 people, but it's a confirmed tornado, so you have to be taking those tornado precautions here, folks. You can't mess around in this type of situation because if you do, unfortunately, that delay could be problematic here as we're looking toward this area. So again, tornado warnings continue here 1 until 2 o'clock here as we're looking in the timeline, 1 until 1:45. Let me double check this. I'm sorry, I'm kind of still trying to get our alerts out, so I'm trying to talk as I type, which is not the easiest thing to do sometimes here, so I apologize. I'll give you some more on that in just a second here, but just trying to get everything up to date over on Twitter for people that are watching the coverage continuously. So the early county warning till 2, that's only 719 in the population, but still got to be watching, got to be taking heed in this area. Again, observed tornado based on radar. That circulation there in parts of southwestern Georgia. So just really be taking action here as we continue to watch, continue to give you the latest updates here. So getting out the one confirmed warning, I want to go ahead and put out a second update here as well. So just trying to get something else out for Twitter here for people that aren't watching the coverage. We're on Twitter streaming, but just want to make sure people know exactly what's happening here this afternoon. So again, a tornado warning has been issued parts of Early County there till 2 after having 1 to 115, and now 1 for parts of Clay and Randolph in Georgia until 2:45. So again, this is a long-term type of thing, folks. Long-term type of thing as we're still looking off the Tallahassee radar, getting pretty high up now. So we're starting to get into some rainfall issues. So let's go over toward the Fort Rucker view once again here as we look at debris tracker. Things here look to be a little harder to pick out, but I think I still see something in here. Just trying to make sure we're not missing what's going on here overall, as things can change pretty quickly in these tropical setups. There may still be a debris dropout here in this area, but you see that hook so well defined, and unfortunately we're seeing some isolated storms form down to the south here, folks, in a pretty favorable environment, and we're even seeing some rotation. These are developing pretty quickly, so that's not what you want to see here, folks. Unfortunately, you see near Malone, a little something trying to get going, and then also here as we get toward Big Pine Road, nothing imminent in terms of a tornado threat, but just gotta watch because these could be your next tornado producing storms here, unfortunately, as we're looking later in the timeline. So again, watching things carefully here, checking some of our different sources as we continue to coverage on the different platforms. Again, tornado warnings in play here for parts of southwestern Georgia, 1 until 2 o'clock. And then the other one a little bit later on. That circulation the weekend, and we could have a situation where those storms to the south may kind of interfere with this storm some. That'd be helpful as we kind of bat this up. You see how quickly, as I move this down even more, you see how quickly these kind of got going. I mean, just in the last 15 minutes or so, really seeing that action above. So hopefully that kind of cuts this storm off some here. It's not able to take advantage as much as we're now getting an update here in the chat session. This is from the Spider Network, spider.network.org. apparently a stovepipe tornado on the ground approximately 2 miles south of the location of the spotter there, Andrew Tomlinson. So this is 3 miles west-southwest of Harrison's Mill. So a stovepipe tornado would be indicative of a larger tornado, folks. So that's not great. That's within the last minute or so. So it could be delayed by just a little bit. I hope it is. There is a picture that's been emailed, so probably a little bit off here, a little bit off in that timing. But the tornado was approximately 2 miles south of that location, 3 miles west-southwest of Harrison's Mill. So we'll kind of zoom on in. I know we were talking about Harrison's Mill here just a little while ago, so we'll try to figure out where this is here on the mapping or where they were talking about this here in this area. So again, tracking this area very carefully, just trying to move the map around to see. I think this was earlier as we were getting down here toward the south. Not 100% sure. I'm not that familiar here with this area, so just trying to make sure that we're not missing anything in this overall setup. But again, confirmed tornado on the ground here. Really kind of overachieving a little. This isolated storm has, as we're trying to look back at what has transpired here in this vicinity. Again, that was 2 miles from the location there, 3 miles west-southwest of Harrison's Mill, and that's in Clay County, actually. Okay, so that means that the Clay County, Georgia, I'm talking about. So this is near the Mill Pond Road area, so may not actually be as far to the south as I'm thinking here. So let me make sure I kind of get my bearings. This is kind of hard to do when we're on live like this, but again, that's the Clay County location they're given, so they'll probably put the actual location thing on here, I would think. So we'll just kind of wait for that. I don't want to waste too much time because this is not an area I'm that familiar with. So again, apologize there, but this tornado right near County Road 134 here, and you see even some wind still went up there, isolated as maybe trying to re-strengthen. Once again, you saw not much. There might be some type of beam blockage here. I'm not sure because it didn't quite make a lot of sense to lose it completely and then come back here. Not 100% sure on that. But again, a tornado warning here, a confirmed tornado as we're getting here not far from Ebenezer Church Road as well here in toward Clay County, Georgia. Not Clay County, Florida, but Clay County, Georgia. And eventually we're tracking this up here into Randolph County. So again, you see that spin here. Again, report of a stovepipe tornado on the ground. They are not far from Harrison's Mill as we're looking from that Clay County, Georgia area. So watching this carefully now. This circulation will be moving in toward Clay County, Georgia, away from Early County. So there's your circulation. We're watching this carefully here. A very, very active scenario with this warning continuing till 2:45 this afternoon. So staying on with you here, trying to keep you up to date. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube, so you guys know what's going on here. We were kind of hoping maybe this accident wouldn't evolve like this with a discrete storm really holding together, but that's exactly what's happened with a confirmed tornado on the ground, a stovepipe tornado here. Again, if you're wondering where this is at, we're talking about Southwestern Georgia. This is part of really the Dothan/Albany/Columbus TV market. So just watching this carefully here as we are tracking things. Northeast of Dothan, you see Dothan there, south of the logo. We're watching things here track off toward the north, but a little bit of an easterly component as well, 30 miles an hour or so. As it is just canceled the tornado warning for Early County, but we're still watching this as we get here in toward parts of, it looks like, Clay County in Georgia, not Florida, but Georgia. We cover these areas. These are on our friend zones, really, but again, just wanting to go ahead and keep everybody safe here with a confirmed tornado on the ground. You can't mess around even if there's only 1,000 people in the warning, 100 people, whatever. When you have a confirmed tornado, you got to be ready to take those precautions here. And when there's a stovepipe tornado, that indicates maybe something a little more significant as things kind of match up a little bit on correlation coefficient still. Maybe even something showing up in reflectivity with a debris signature. Not really sure there, but again, an unusual signature overall. We're now at 150 on the coverage, checking some more information behind the scenes here. A tornado warning for parts of Early County there expiring, but now tracking things off toward the north. We'll take another break here in the coverage soon, but I just want to go ahead and make sure people are up to date in this area. This is definitely impressive here. Impressive with a 45-mile-an-hour landfall and tropical system. Seeing a debris signature with a confirmed tornado, stovepipe tornado in this area. So I just have to be really cognizant of what's going on. I'm going to go ahead and retweet that report, actually. That's on Twitter right now as I'm trying to go through here to make sure I'm not missing anything. The Spotter Network talking about that here again as we are seeing that indication. So not what you want to hear about here in this area. Stovepipe tornadoes from tropical systems aren't all that common here, but we saw in last year with Isaias toward North Carolina, we had a deadly tornado there in Bertie County, and sometimes you can get these stronger tornadoes here. Not sure if this is a strong tornado. Weather Service will have to do a survey of damage here, and maybe we'll get lucky and there won't be any damage because this is so isolated and rural, but we'll just have to wait and see on that again as we are watching things here toward parts of now Clay County, Georgia, and parts of again Randolph County as we get further downstream. So again, still tracking things very closely. I retweeted that information from the Spotter Network because that's really helpful there as we're on the air, keeping everybody safe this afternoon. Checking here on our debris detection. Trying to get a look at what's going on. We'll go ahead and zoom out because we just got a thunderstorm warning, not in our area, but indicative here of what's going on with the overall setup here with a severe thunderstorm moving toward the Panama City Beach area maybe. They're looking pretty high up off Fort Rucker. You can see some of this here, maybe just to the west actually. Panama City Beach in the text of the warning, but we're really talking more about Laguna Beach here as we track some of that wind enhancement moving there, Segrove Beach too, but still close to there toward Panama City as we're seeing these storms really develop this supercellular structure, which is not a good thing because eventually these might tap into the overall parameters. Now, if we get so many of them, sometimes you have too many, and then things may not and don't come together. But again, here that'd be great. But again, as we're tracking this here, this is really tight again as we're tracking the circulation up here near. It looks like some of these different roads that aren't really showing up, which is good news. But we're talking about County Road 130 in here, also getting over toward County Road 18, again, Southwestern Georgia here, north of Blakely, west of Albany now, northeast of Dothan. You get the idea, pretty far south of Columbus, but several different areas that could eventually become tornadic here, unfortunately, as we're getting those storms to develop real quick to the south. But this one right here is tornadic as we're getting into parts of southwestern Georgia. Looking at the latest scans on the radar here, long fuse type of tornado warning scenario here in toward southwestern Georgia. Taking a look here at ZDR, still seeing some upscale growth. So this storm is really impressive. I mean, eventually we got to watch out for Coleman here and Cuthbert as well. So this giving you guys an early heads up around Coleman. You're under the warning, so take Souter and Cuthbert. Eventually, this could be headed toward you guys, a more highly populated area. Hopefully, it doesn't hold together, but this storm's been holding together for an hour or so. So just be ready to take Souter in the Cuthbert area there. Possible circulation could be heading into your area if it's not a confirmed tornado at that point still. So got to be cognizant, got to be aware here. Watching more storms form to the south. You see wind not all that strong overall. We got the advisory in, by the way, on Claudette here recently, I do believe. A 2 o'clock update from the National Hurricane Center. So let me go ahead and check on that. I see what they said about what's going on here with the grand scheme of things. We'll go back on over to a broader perspective here. We'll go on over there now. You'll be able to see what's happening. You'll kind of be able to get an idea. There's one view, by the way, of that storm here off a different radar site. But you can kind of see how things are still pretty organized with Tropical Storm Claudette The bands of heavy rain, gusty winds still affecting portions of the northern Gulf Coast. You see that our center there, in fact, is located about 80 miles northwest of Mobile. Excuse me, just a second here as I check some more things as well. But again, also talking about 140 miles west-southwest of Montgomery. Max sustained winds only at 40, but you can get higher gusts. We just had one there with that tropical storm icon that's showing up toward the Fort Walton Beach area. Gust there, Okaloosa Island, fishing pier to 49 miles an hour. This storm, this tropical system I'm talking about, moving north-northeast at about 14 miles an hour, 1,007 millibars with the pressure. They did discontinue that tropical storm warning from the Mississippi-Alabama border to the mouth of the Mississippi River, but it still continues from the Mississippi-Alabama border to the Okaloosa County, Walton County line. And we'll also have a tropical storm watch toward parts of North Carolina, as they're now anticipating just to kind of re-evolve here, as we are looking here toward North Carolina, maybe kind of re-strengthening a little, which is unusual. An unusual storm becoming a tropical storm officially over land with the update, and then maybe going from a depression later on to a storm over land too is something you rarely talk about here. I know it kind of reminds me of Julia back in 2016 that evolved here officially according to the Hurricane Center in the real time toward the Jacksonville area, though as they did post-analysis, they figured out it did actually form just over water there off of the southeastern Florida coast. But you see the track here of the system as we get the latest updates. The spotter is reporting a tornado still on the ground here. This is something that you do not see very often. Again, as we get in here, you see that rotation holding together. We saw it kind of pulse down earlier, but really ramping on up. And again, a tornado still on the ground here in this area. This is something, I mean, honestly, it reminds me of something you would see in Kansas with this holding together for this long here. We do not see stuff like this holding together this long here very often. But again, a confirmed tornado on the ground still being reported by spotters here as we're getting toward parts of southwestern Georgia. So just got to take shelter here, take those tornado precautions. As I look at some more information behind the scenes, I know the latest FPC update did just come out for tomorrow. Still have a marginal risk for South Georgia. So this is just kind of the beginning here of a tornado threat for our South Georgia counties. We're in our far western zones right now. And you see our circulation here, isolated, discrete, whatever you want to call it. And as we go over the correlation coefficient here, you do see as we look at the blues and the reds here, you can kind of see things that were matching up there, but they're not matching up necessarily on reflectivity, which is unusual, unique. But again, a tornado on the ground, so it's got to be one here that's really easy to see, I would think, based on seeing the reports in the chat, of course, but also just based on that radar. This is something, again, that you see in the Midwest. Now, do not chase this. You got to be really trained in what you're doing, and if you are trained, of course, then that's a different situation. But I don't want to just go out there because I'm saying it's easy to see and start looking for it. You need to take shelter. But this is something that storm spotters, people that are trained in this, are able to see really well in this area, I would think, because of this, the overall structure on this is, again, something more like what you see in the Midwest. So a unique situation, to say the least here. This is one of the longer holding together tropical tornadic signatures in terms of having warnings in play that I've seen in our area, honestly. Something you don't see all that often. You see the reds, the blues here on the radar. So again, we're continuing to watch this. We're getting to the top of the hour now. We're at the top of the hour. Meteorologist Casey Cloud continuing the coverage. You see some storm to the south as well, as you see maybe some circulation trying to get going down there later. I kind of hope they don't evolve as we're tracking things here. If they kind of develop too much rain might preclude that. But you see here again, this kidney being safe, which is a classic look here on reflectivity. But again, things match up a little bit unusual here overall with the actual spin, as even on the northern edge of the spin here, it does now kind of match up a little bit better, though, when you look at it that way. Something to kind of take into consideration. But as we were back here, our gate to gate was showing things a little bit better as well to some extent. But even getting things further off here in the timeline, we were having a little bit of an issue here getting this to match up. with Roy Ben. We'll have to go even further off, honestly, because it started to match up better as we've gotten those reports of the tornado on the ground. You kind of see earlier how things were not matching up as well. That was when it was at a weaker point. So just interesting to say the least here. This is when we weren't really matching up good with this. But again, as we get back on up to the north now, things here are little bit more obvious, though the rotation doesn't look as tight on the latest scans. We have still had reports of a tornado on the ground, so you don't want to lay your guard down here in this area. So again, tornado warning let's say that again, still in effect till 2:45 for parts of Clay and Randolph in southwestern Georgia. So pretty rural area. That's the good thing. It's not a highly populated zone that we're talking about, but still, when you have a tornado on the ground, a stovepipe tornado as described there by the spotter, you can't have problems here in this vicinity. So again, still tracking this. I think we'll take a quick break in the coverage once again to gather some more information here. So stick with me. Again, we're watching things that know off toward, it looks like the Walton County area as well, with a tornado possible tag and an update. Hadn't come through on chat yet, which is intriguing, but again, seeing some different things here. Got to watch out for the rotation. Again, spotter reports that a tornado is still on the ground, so take shelter in the area here. Coleman, Bluffton under the tornado warning until 2:45 this afternoon, as I see another tornado warning popping up out of our area. Just continuing to watch. That's for Covington County in Alabama, it looks like. So let me go ahead and kind of show you what we're talking about there before we do take this quick break. So you see here a circulation toward Alabama as we kind of broaden that view out. We're pretty high up on this radar, but you see some action there. We'll have to watch some of this discrete action, more of it developing now as we're getting down toward the Florida Big Bend. So just something to pay attention to. As you see here, some circulations try to get going, unfortunately, toward the south. So just have to be kind of on our toes here this afternoon. We'll keep you updated. Be back in just a few minutes as the tornado warning continues till 2:45 for parts of Clay County, Georgia, and also Randolph County, Georgia here this afternoon. back here in the Weather Center tracking this tornado warning storm. Latest update now calling it radar indicated again, so that's a good sign that this may not be on the ground here currently. Hopefully this is kind of weakening on out some as we're seeing the rotation really kind of fall on off here in this vicinity. We saw this fall off earlier though, so I hesitate saying that. I hesitate you letting your guard down because we really saw things that kind of fall apart earlier than it really ramped on up on us. But right now, I think we're in a setup where things to the south are going to kind of interfere with this some, hopefully, as we are tracking it off toward here to north-northeast, I would say, closer toward Cuthbert eventually here. So, still watching things in the chat session. I know I've been talking for a while here, just trying to get me a drink here a moment ago as we are seeing Belleville as well as Coleman, also getting over towards Sutton's Corner, Randolph County Airport under this tornado warning here as we're talking about a severe thunderstorm capable producing a tornado 8 miles east of Fort Gaines, moving there in about 30 miles an hour off toward the north-northeast, I would say. Again, I know they're tracking it north, but it's north-northeast here with the overall movement. As you see, the spotter confirmed tornado. This is where we were talking about it here, 3 miles west of Harrison's Mill earlier on. So I'll back this up a little bit. You'll be able to see that circulation as it went right across there. That was about 53 past the hour. So you see that where that report was. And in fact, I might have a debris signature from that time. So let me see if I can pop that on. Yeah, you see some of that lowering 2,000 feet up. Definitely had that tornado on the ground based on the reports and the debris signature, combining those here this afternoon. So again, watching that kidney being safe, but not as organized. We're seeing winds 50 miles an hour possible though, gate to gate here, a lot lower overall as we're watching things. But again, I still can't let your guard down because things can ramp up in a hurry like what we saw earlier. So we just have to be kind of careful here. You cannot just kind of say, well, things are ramping down, so you can go ahead and leave the safe spot. You've got to go ahead and stay in that, as the Weather Service does say the circulation's weakened, but the warning continues for now. Until that warning is dropped, you got to respect that polygon here, folks, and you got to make sure you stay in your tornado safe area. Again, make sure you still are in there. Protect yourself from flying debris by putting on a bicycle helmet here in this area. Just to be on the safe side as we're looking toward Coleman. We'll see if they drop this before it gets to Coleman. This has that long history of the circulation and then producing the stovepipe tornado, according to the spotter here a little bit earlier on. So problematic for sure. As we go ahead and zoom back on out again, we're watching the south to see if any of these might be candidates for tornado warnings downstream. Later on. Right now, luckily, the rotation isn't sort of too much on velocity, but just have to kind of watch. Things are becoming a little bit more, I guess you could say, organized, which would actually preclude a tornado threat some. What I mean by that is you have more rain, so things are not as isolated per se and discrete, so it's a little harder for things to kind of take advantage of all the atmospheric parameters at their disposal, like this storm to the north had really been able to do there for a while. I mean, it was really isolated, something I hadn't seen that isolated in our area in a while. Just to have a tornado-producing storm here so by itself like that is something you rarely see in this part of the country. So, it wasn't as strong as this tornado, I can't imagine, but going back here, I think it was several years, 2014, I think it was, we had a tornado in Arkansas that was deadly there in the Little Rock area overall, and it was really isolated, if I recall, in producing that. This is really just the only storm in town when it was doing some of the damage here and some of that storm type of weather there, I guess you could say. I'm trying to come up with the right words, but you get the idea. Some of the nastiest weather. So let's go over to sear rate though. You do see earlier on, kind of watching this an hour ago here, I had the warning in play then, and you see how things overall have dropped off. But there is still a little bit of rotation. You see a little bit off toward the south there with some of the other accents. So that's what kind of worries me. I just don't want more of this to kind of reemerge as we kind of zoom out. You see some scattered showers overall, nothing really robust, but sometimes things can become a little bit stronger quickly here. As we look at our energy values, you see they're pretty high. That's for the tropical system. With that and the tornado parameters overlapping, that is a concern. And that's why we have a tornado watch here in play until 8 o'clock tonight for parts of southwestern Georgia. Specifically here, we get into ward areas around Seminole County, Georgia, also up toward Miller County here, Colquitt, toward Blakely there, also toward Cuthbert. You kind of get the idea. Dawson under the tornado watch as well. So that means conditions favorable getting close to that watch area for tornadic conditions here as we are looking. So again, checking things carefully here on our different mode of the Doppler radar. We're checking the latest updates here. We're still watching for Cuthbert as well. Right now, if the trends continue, I don't think they'd reissue the warning, but they're keeping the warning in play just to be on the safe side here as we're tracking this near Coleman here in this area, watching this very carefully here this afternoon, trying to keep everybody out ahead of this threat. Again, we're at 2:12 on a Saturday afternoon, holiday weekend here. Of course, we have Father's Day in play tomorrow as well. So, again, you got to be cognizant of that. That storms will still be around tomorrow here. Still a tornado threat hanging around in the ward that Sunday. So, it's not a one and done type of scenario, unfortunately. How things can sometimes get through pretty quick, kind of hanging on around. And it was Sally. It was a one-day type of tornado threat as we were looking back last year, but this time around, unfortunately, it's going to be a tornado threat here lasting into Sunday as well. As you see some lightning here to the south. We're starting to see something spin up here, folks, south of Blakely, I think. I might get a warning pretty soon. It wasn't really organized, but with just the history in this area, the parameters have been there, and they still are here to some extent. We're getting a 53-mile-an-hour wind pixel, so if anything, maybe a severe thunderstorm warning could be coming, but with one of those tornado possible tags, but definitely could be having a circulation trying to spin up as we're looking closer toward Blakely here. I just gotta be on our toes about this. We get back to the north here, some lightning with this toward Coleman. So being south around Coleman here, could be seeing a little bit of circulation trying to reemerge once again on the back side here. Just have to be kind of careful. You gotta have to be careful here as we are tracking this in this vicinity on the southern side. So let's check rainfall for the last hour. You'll be able to see some spots getting upward of 3/4 of an inch or so as we're getting towards some of these really dark greens, but not a really rainy event overall. As I see a mesoscale discussion just been issued from the Storm Prediction Center, so this will be something that'll be kind of helpful for us to go over. In fact, once it comes up in the other system here, we'll go ahead and kind of see all that. So let me go ahead, switch you on over to that as we kind of wait for that to come on up. And well, there's your update right there. In fact, it's a small one. They're saying that several supercells are now developing in this warm sector, as we kind of figured across southwest Georgia, and the risk for a couple tornadoes is increasing, peaking maybe now between this time frame at 2:10 until about 4 o'clock, as radar satellite imagery indicates the development of several supercells in a destabilizing warm sector near the southeast Alabama, southwest Georgia border early this afternoon, as we have some bad data there indicating around 200 there. Looks like in terms of that 0 to 1 kilometer storm relative helicity. So that's getting up there. Maritime warm front draped across southwest Georgia with mid-80s, and the southern flow located to the south where we have upper 70s. And as the storms interact with a vorticity-rich zone along the maritime warm front we're talking about, it seems the tornado potential with the supercells in the greatest vicinity there. Great, the threat will be greatest is what I'm trying to say there, in the vicinity of that boundary. So kind of like that severe threat when you have the low pressure in the warm front. Unfortunately, that's what we pretty much have. Not this is tropical, but it's really similar. Additional storms are developing there. They're also developing to the south with a storm that this has a history of producing a tornado, and the storms are likely going to move into the warm frontal zone and potentially pose a tornado threat. So what we've been talking about, unfortunately, looks like it's starting to kind of come true here with maybe some more tornadic producing storms in a really favorable environment Yeah, probably gonna get a warning pretty soon for Blakely, folks, because I'm seeing a hook start to emerge here on this. You see our velocity and you see the hook. So we're probably going to be with you for a while, folks. So just be ready for a tornado warning or at least some type of warning to be issued here in the Blakely area as we have a spin up trying to evolve now within radars. Looking pretty similar, eerily similar to what we were seeing earlier down to the south. Not on the ground necessarily, but got to watch. As we look toward the north, there's still a little something here near Coleman. It's starting to kind of come back a little, I think. Seeing a little bit more gate to gate in this area. So Cuthbert might end up getting a tornado warning here. We'll just have to wait and see. As this situation, Roy does change quickly. As we got an update on a thunderstorm warning over Bay, Walden, and Washington in the Panhandle. A bunch of thunderstorm warnings down there, like what you would see in a typical severe weather threat. But this is a tropical storm that we're talking about, Claudette here, causing all of this, that low pressure. And we're watching things really carefully in the Weather Center. So we'll take a quick break and the coverage will be back in just a few minutes. Back here in the Weather Center once again, we're getting more updates. Weather Service is sending out some new details here as they're saying that they're watching some new rotation that we were alluding to in central Early County closely. So the circulation has come back a bit in Randolph County too, and a new tornado warning may have to be issued toward Walden County in the Florida Panhandle as well. So a lot of new information just coming out here in the chat session. Reviewing all of that here as we see some tornado warnings there towards southern Alabama, out of our area there right now and toward Covington County. So again, watching things carefully here. Overall, it's getting pretty busy on the board, not just the one discrete storm anymore that we're tracking. As you see that circulation there, Blakely, something to watch for those folks. And then that's Roy getting tight again east of Coleman. So things are just kind of doing what they want to do sometimes, I guess, here, trying to reemerge. So we got to be watching in Cuthbert here, folks. A heads up in Cuthbert. Be ready now for a tornado warning to be issued. If that circulation stays at that strength here, then a tornado warning would be issued for Cuthbert area further into Randolph County. So gotta be ready in the Cuthbert area here for a possible tornado to move in toward that area. So again, you see the bright reds here, the bright blues on the radar. I gotta be really careful here because we could be seeing something reemerge. And let's check here to see if this is co-located as we get that latest update. Looks like a new warning, so I'll let you guys know about that here in just a second. But in terms of being co-located here, the latest scans is kind of coming on in, so this isn't quite to the update there. Let me kind of back that up and then do that once again because of the way this is doing it. So it may or may not be co-located, but the new warning now is for radar indications for the Cuthbert area. So they're not confirming it, but now till 3:15 at 2:21, a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado was located near Cuthbert, moving north. But again, there's a little easterly component, but generally moving north at about 30 miles an hour here toward the Cuthbert area. So you gotta be in shelter there around Cuthbert here, a possible tornado moving on in here. So again, 30 is the speed. I can actually do a little track on my other source here with the rotation. So 30, and this is about 7 miles away. So if you do the math here, folks, do that math. I mean, about 15 minutes away from Cuthbert. So that means you need to be in shelter in the next 5 to 10 minutes. For sure in Cuthbert. You need to go ahead and be in that tornado safe area. There's different parts of Cuthbert, and there's also the threat here of maybe this picking up a little bit of forward speed. So again, I gotta be in toward that tornado safe area in Cuthbert, a possible tornado moving in there. So again, I know that hook is really showing up now toward Blakely. So let's go back on over toward the south now. You see here the circulation between Luke and Blakely. So on up, you see south at Cuthbert here, around Coleman, the circulation here as well. I'll take the mesoscale discussing off to clean things up a little. We have tornado warnings out of our area towards southern Alabama. This is southeast of Andalusia here. Andalusia, talking about the possible tornado being near off around 140. Florala there, Covington County to 130, central warning. You see some areas of rotation in the Florida Panhandle there, something to watch. This is stuff that's going to eventually be in our area. So this is just the beginning, folks. I mean, this is just the beginning of the tornado threat, potentially. I mean, it'd be nice if things kind of don't evolve to the level that they could here with the perimeters in play. But we just got to be on guard, got to be watching here as we look toward Cuthbert once again. You see that circulation here just on the northeast side of Coleman, moving toward Cuthbert. So again, Cuthbert, it's time to take shelter here in that area. In terms of, I know, population, you guys might be wanting to know about that there. If you're watching from other areas, we're talking about 3,520 people in Cuthbert. So impact from this storm would be felt if it did cause some damage, no doubt there. This has been over rural areas mainly the whole time, but you're seeing now moving toward Cuthbert, so take shelter in Cuthbert. As I look at power outage numbers, luckily not too impressive, but there's just not that many customers out here, which is the good news. But again, a tornado has been confirmed with this earlier, with a storm spotter confirming that. I had some debris signatures as well as a stovepipe tornado, in fact. And now watching the threat toward Cuthbert, toward Blakely here, you see a circulation trying to emerge. Seeing that try to emerge. So on the latest scans on Storm Relative, not quite as impressive, but still some wind enhancement moving in toward the Blakely area. Gotta watch out for that. But again, toward Cuthbert here, we're going to be having to take shelter there here in the Cuthbert area. Go ahead and take your tornado precautions in Cuthbert here. It's about to cross, it looks like, as I try to find some of these roads that'll show up here. It looks like it just crossed over State Route 266, but gonna eventually be crossing over State Route 1, probably more into toward Cuthbert at that point. A lot of these roads don't show up, but it is gonna cross it. It looks like, as I see one that does pop one up, is Mitchell Grove Road. So giving you guys that heads up there. We're about to pass on over that area here soon as we get updates on the storms toward the Florida Panhandle out of our viewing circle. But again, you see Cuthbert here in Randolph County, Georgia. A circulation trying to move on in toward that area. So gotta be on your toes there. Gotta be on your toes. You see the rain now falling over the area where we had a tornado earlier. So any damage, unfortunately, getting now, the damage is getting kind of wet, potentially out there as maybe that tornado touching down the southern end. So probably didn't get that wet overall down there in the tornado damage area earlier there northwest of Bluffton. But unfortunately, a different story now. We'll have to see what type of damage there is as the survey crews do go out there eventually. But again, you see 54 mile an hour on the wind as we were going storm relative there. Just watching things really carefully with this. We're going to go ahead now and look at some of our different modes once again of our radar. I know getting a little bit of rain, Madison County popping up. Just overall here, watching different things that are getting going here within our Doppler radar algorithms. You see all that acting kind of strengthening off toward the Florida Panhandle here. We have that daytime heating kind of mixing up. We have our supercell composite up there pretty good. That'll help more with the tornado spins when we have isolated acts in there that ends up getting going there. But you see our energy values as well, and then our tornado parameters, enough mixing here. This is where you sometimes get in a severe weather setup. I mean, something like this. I mean, it's pretty nasty little setup here when we have these low top supercells out that can get going. So again, I gotta watch out. Let's go ahead and go over towards satellite now. This is a different perspective we can use. You can kind of see how the cloud top's a little higher there, and then the actual storms kind of show up here a little bit in this line. Again, this is a tropical system. It looks more like a frontal type threat when you would see maybe just at least from this perspective that you would see more during the spring type months. We're technically still in spring here for a little longer, but we're talking about meteorological summer, of course, as we've been referencing here. But again, there's the satellite, there's your radar. We'll go ahead and go back on it. Again, a tornado warning situation for the Cuthbert area, far western zones here as we're looking toward parts of Randolph County. It looks like Peterson Hill in this warning, Coles, the community of White House, as well as Benevolence, over toward the Randolph County Airport. There's some of those spots again near Coleman right now, here in towards southern Georgia. Again, a possible tornado being indicated on radar this afternoon. Just gotta be taking heed, gotta be taking precaution here as we look toward Cuthbert now. You can see that spin here. You can see the greens and the blues and the reds come together. Gotta be in set around Cuthbert. We'll keep on watching for you guys there in Randolph County. Take those tornado precautions here in this area, and we're back in just a few minutes, so stay tuned. back here in the Weather Center tracking the tornado warning situation as we get toward Randolph County with that circulation there, not too far away from Cuthbert. As we get an update here into the chat now. This came in, you heard the beep, and you heard another beep come out as well. Looks like some damage to homes now being reported in Early County from about an hour ago near the White Chandler Road area. So unfortunately hearing some of that now, not what you want to hear. So again, just checking some information here in the chat though, as we did just have a new warning issued for parts of southern Alabama here. This is going to be for parts of Coffee and Geneva out of our area, but just want to let you guys know about it here overall, so you kind of know what might be in the future here as we get toward parts of southwestern Georgia, unfortunately. As I know you see some of these isolated storms as well in play, so I gotta be careful here as we watch some different things within the radar echoes. Looks like we just got an update. They did just drop one of these tornado warnings here for parts of Clay and Randolph, but the other warning continues for Randolph here until about, it looks like, as I put the clock on here, 3:15. So another 45 minutes or so. You have the circulation here near the Creek Indian Trail Scenic Highway. So getting more reports in now from earlier there. As we kind of look back, I'm going to try to pronounce this. I pronounced this earlier the best I could, but the Colo Moki Mounds South area looks like about 135 there. We're now seeing that there's been some damage to a barn pump near Sawyer Road. So some issues down there. Again, the home damage we heard about as well. So be interesting to see what comes out of all those surveys maybe as we look ahead in the timeline. Weather Service might get out there tomorrow, Monday, just depending on how the weather does hold on up. But again, I mean, I guess they might bring it out there late today if they get lucky, but they're so busy right now with these different storms. Not sure if they'll be able to do that with the line coming into play later on as well, which could actually kind of interfere with that damage assessment a little bit. But you kind of get the idea as we're watching the radar right now. I still have an active threat as we get here near Cuthbert. So let's watch the motion of this so you can kind of see here. The motion looks a little more northerly, and sometimes this can happen. I could it be an illusion? So let me check to make sure, because sometimes this can happen. Looks a little more northerly. And this can happen sometimes with the way the tropical systems are with the overall flow. So this might kind of have Cuthbert avoid the worst of this if we get lucky. But don't lay your guard down in Cuthbert. This could change directions here again. We're still seeing things in the chat. Still checking things here this afternoon. Again, you can see that circulation in motion. So again, there's your latest update now. Here's your latest update. You see it right there near Cotton Hill Road. We'll take off the radar. There's where your circulation would be as we get in real tight here. You see maybe some homes in there even. So that's problematic if this were to be on the ground. As the gate to gate is still there over 50, but again, not as strong as it was as we look for any type of debris, and not really seeing anything match up right now. About 2,783 feet up it looks like, but again, still see that matching up enough on the kidney being safe that we could have something in here in the ward part of Randolph County, Georgia. So I just got to be kind of aware of that here this afternoon. Still tracking things very carefully. A tornado warning until 3:15, so just be taking those tornado precautions here. In fact, we're going to go to a different view of the radar now. I'll go ahead and pull up radar scope. Haven't really done this here on this coverage this afternoon, but thought we'd give you a different perspective. So we'll get that put on into our system here. Sometimes it gets a little bit old looking at the same exact radar type of software, so just try to change things up a little bit right now as we continue this tornado warning coverage for southwestern Georgia here. Far western zones, a possible tornado toward the Cuthbert area. As we go ahead and continue to watch things, you generally don't see things hold together this long, but you'll be able to kind of see it on our other mode here as well once I switch, because it has our reports in here as well from earlier on. Those kind of adding on up into our system, so this will be kind of helpful to demonstrate this here as we go on over now to radar scope. You're able to see some of these different reports, and then I'll go ahead and kind of draw a line here. I had this holding together even beforehand, but there's your circulation here as we get up on more into toward the Cuthbert area. It looks like seeing that general north-northeast motion still, but I think it's kind of deviated some as maybe putting this into play will help a little bit. Probably follow this line pretty good, but we'll find out, I guess, here in just a second. As you kind of see things here, you can't necessarily make it out that much because this is from the last little bit, but again, maybe a little bit more of a northerly component here. As we continue to watch, you kind of see here, I'll kind of actually trace this on out for you here as we're tracking. Yeah, it definitely looks a little more northerly, but again, continuing to watch things maybe weaken a little bit on the latest scans here. You saw it kind of tight there to the southwest of Cuthbert. Right now, they'll becoming more loose, more diffuse. So again, there's your circulation down there, and then you have it kind of right up in there. So I know it's a little hard to draw out like that, but you get the idea. There's where our spin would be, right in here, right here as we're looking toward Cuthbert, west of downtown, maybe about 2 or 3 miles. So that's something that we're kind of seeing here within the mode of our Doppler radar as well. So something to kind of keep tabs on here for sure as we're using our different tools in our toolkit. To the south, not seeing as much necessarily, which is good. I know Mesoscale discussing, and I thought both Roy that we might see some more warnings to the south. Luckily, though, things haven't evolved quite as quick as I thought they could. As we get an update, though, them continuing that tornado warning for a possible tornado over parts of Cuthbert, at least in the word some of the Cuthbert addresses here, as there's enough spin to keep it going. Just for the history of this, with the damage, with the stovepipe tornado reported earlier, with how strong it was at times, and it would really weaken. You just don't want people to be caught off guard here in this overall environment. Now, eventually, the good thing is Stewart County, I know it's part there of areas covered by the Albany television stations, but as we're getting up into that area, that's not part of my covered area. That's also part of the Peachtree City National Weather Service jurisdiction. So if for some reason we're seeing other storms involved, though, with circulations, of course, we'll need to be on. But if we can get this out of our area here, we'll be able to go off and kind of wrap up cover and take a break as we prepare for some more storms later, because we have that line here toward the west. We don't actually have any other tornado warnings with it at the moment, but you do see some severe thunderstorm warnings in play. So you even see some areas of rotation there out toward the west. So got to be cognizant of that threat for sure. Things luckily, I think the rain out ahead of this could help a little bit in kind of weakening out some of the action, because it'd be great if this was the strongest storm that we had here with this overall setup in the water area, and with the way the environment sets up and has set up, and it very well could be here. But we have to just continue to watch, continue to look at the latest scans on the Doppler radar, as I'm seeing just different things come on up, some gusty winds even toward Charleston, but just kind of seeing the overall pattern here. I'll promote that as I'm looking at velocity on some other storms. Not really seeing much. That storm near Blakely, though, the more recent storm, is seeing a little more on our storm relative on. Ooh, that's not good. I think we're starting to get a circulation over on radar scope. So let me go ahead and pop this back up here. This is radar scope. I know our tornado just passed over here. As you're kind of tracking that, there west of Bluffton, and now it looks like we might have a circulation, the one we're tracking near Blakely, but it wasn't tight enough. Looks like it might be getting a little bit tighter now here as we're watching that north of Blakely. So gotta watch out for that here in the parts of southwestern Georgia. This is not tornado warning. Another thing in the corner talks about the tornado safety tips, but we're talking about the other storm toward the north, but it very well could become tornado warning to the south pretty soon, as we start to see that reemerge a little on our GR level radar as well. You do see that here with the pixels near that Colamuckie Road area. I'm talking about that a lot today, unfortunately. As you also see a little something west of Arlington, but that's not co-located here at all. It doesn't look like, which is good. And that just weakened a little on the latest scan. So hopefully this will be the only game in town for a while. But with this environment, it may not be. We just have to be kind of cognizant of what can happen. We've been doing tornado covers here now for about an hour and 50 minutes or so, give or take. Maybe a little less than that, but you get the idea, hour 45 or so, tracking this tornado warned storm all the way from Alabama here. I mean, we've been tracking this for a while. In fact, I'll try to get a mileage on this here from when we had that first warning issued. I'll go ahead and go back into our other system, kind of measure this out. It's pretty impressive, folks. When we were tracking this, just entering the state about 12:50, 1 o'clock or so, and now all the way to the north, we're talking about 40 miles or so here 40 miles or so, which is not quite as far as I thought it might have been, but you get the idea here. We're still tracking things very carefully. That movement kind of slower in some ways, but still tracking a tornado warning storm for 40 miles is still kind of unusual, as we're now getting a report here from a meteorologist at the ABC station in Dothan, WDHN TV, Matthew Wine, saying numerous trees down there on White Chandler Road, just south of Georgia Road 39 and northwest of Blakely. So more reports coming on in there from the chat session of what has happened down there toward areas there further toward southwestern Georgia. But again, the storm's still capable of producing a tornado up toward Cuthbert. Some shear showing up toward Blakely with another storm. Just got to keep that in mind. Got to keep watching. Got to keep tracking here. And actually, I was saying earlier now, we were watching things here off toward the northwest of Arlington, northwest of Arlington there, maybe not co-located, but now things and in this environment a little different. Maybe you don't need to co-location as much here in some ways because of the overall drier type setup that you have at times, but in between the storms. But you see some circulation trying to get going there. Gotta watch out because we have that tornado watch in play all the way till 8 o'clock tonight Eastern time. May even get more later, but just gotta get through the one here with the watch, with the warnings that are in play. You see northwest of Cuthbert here. We're watching the circulation. Here as we get closer toward Old Spring Road. In here, it looks like Spring Valley, Spring Vale Road, depending on how it's pronounced there locally. I know we talked about that area before, but again, watching things carefully in toward this area here of Randolph County, US 27. Eventually this could cross that, but it has stayed a little further off toward the west here, it looks like, as we continue to track things here in the weather center. So I'm going to go ahead and do a little bit of more analysis on this right here and see what we have with the latest. I see these little spins trying to still up on some more different modes of the Doppler radar here. Definitely interesting to see as we continue to give you the very latest information here this afternoon. Trying to just keep you and your family up to date here on what's going on because it's been a very active afternoon for a few of us, but most of us staying pretty dry here, which is the good news. But again, just continuing to watch things very carefully here. Make sure we don't get more spin-ups because I'm seeing some areas of rotation here on some other mode of the Doppler radar. So again, just still watching things pretty carefully. Just keeping you abreast of the situation here. Trying to make sure everybody knows what's going on. Just checking some different things behind the scenes. So again, if you kind of hear me stutter around, I guess you could say we're just trying to see some different things here while I'm talking. It's a one-man band, folks. It's not like we have a bunch of people in the back here that are able to get me information. I have to get the information myself while I'm talking to you guys, and so it's about multitasking really here as we watch different things within the Doppler radar. So I just kind of have to watch things here really carefully so we don't miss anything here in this type of situation. So again, watching things here near Cuthbert. Let's move this up a little bit now as the circulation's kind of moving up, and it looks like the office in Peachtree City just issued a severe thunderstorm warning here because of the storm up towards Stewart and Webster, which is not in my area. It is still part though of areas covered by Albany. There at Albany TV stations, but I know WALB covers that area. But again, Cuthbert there, that severe thunderstorm located there, or over a community of White House, moving north in general at 30. But again, have a little bit more easterly component at times. At this point, though, maybe a little more northerly once again. Now it just kind of depends here as we continue to watch things. They'll kind of bat this up a little bit more. You can kind of see how we were tracking things, and then how things kind of move on over some here with that circulation. It looks like it could have been an illusion because I was doing some things behind the scenes and it didn't look like it being moved over quite as much. Sometimes when you get into this, things kind of look like they're moving in a little bit different direction here than they actually are. And when they weaken off, sometimes it makes it a little bit harder to track. But you saw that circulation kind of fall off some. Weather Service may not guarantee, but they may walk right out, warning out. We'll just wait and see. we'll just kind of wait and see here what they decide to do as we continue to track things here in toward this area. You see some weak areas of spin toward the south. We'll have to watch out for those. Watch out for the line off toward the west as well. So just kind of be aware here of what can happen in this overall situation. I think we're taking another break in the coverage right now as we have seen that circulation weaken a pretty good bit. You see how it was off there near Cuthbert a little while ago. Watching that again, we were watching Cuthbert pretty carefully there. We thought maybe it was kind of moving on over there, but then again, seeing it go off just on maybe on the west side of town or just outside of Cuthbert there, about a few miles maybe west of downtown as we kind of measured on that earlier. But again, just continuing to watch here this afternoon the overall threat. We do have that risk in play. We'll say some different things while we're on because sometimes we just end up saying the same thing over and over again as we go ahead and go on over now toward our other source. You see the tornado threat here still in play, a little bit higher in the yellow, a little bit lower in the green. You see that margin of risk all the way up to about Augusta even. So something to kind of bear in mind, and the tornado threat going all the way up there toward Augusta, give or take, as you see that on the edge there. So just got to be kind of mindful of that as we continue to watch things here. A wind threat in play. Not really seeing the hail concern though in this tropical type of setup, but again, right now watching the tornado warning storm. That movement here, last check was at 25 miles an hour. So this gets out of our area here as we do the math, about 15 minutes or so. Warning goes to about 3:15, probably dropped a little early, but again, getting reports in from the south here. Never want to hear about damage, but we did have some there as we're getting there northwest of Blakely toward out of Clay County and Georgia, at least being spotted was the tornado there. So not Clay County, Florida, but Clay County, Georgia, as we're looking at some different things, checking some different things here as we think. We'll go ahead and take a quick break in the cover. Be right back in just a moment. Back here at 2:51, meteorologist Casey Cloud continuing our tornado warning coverage. We've been with you for about 2 hours or so now, tracking a tornado warning storm that's tracked all the way from the Alabama-Georgia border up into Randolph County here. Reports of tornado conditions there as we were looking off toward areas there northwest of Blakely, give or take, with some damage occurring with a tornado actually spotted, a stovepipe tornado. I would assume once I see the pictures, it's probably pretty easy to see it because not seeing much rain around with it at that point on that southern side. So just kind of interesting as you were kind of looking at things there on that eastern side too, I would think. But again, tracking things, you see the red polygon on the screen. I see some yellow polygons off toward the west, and we'll have to watch here to see how things kind of translate off toward our area eventually because of the nature of things with this threat. As we look back toward parts of Randolph County, you do see not much on the way of that circulation right now showing up on radar, but as we get down toward the south, you see some spins trying to get going. One near Bluffton, also south of Edison. There's another one that's north of Arlington. You see little enhancements there. I'll kind of point them out for you here with some markers on the screen. There's one of them right there near Bluffton. And then as we kind of go on over here real quick, you kind of see something near Edison as well. So again, there's little red squares I just put up is what I'm talking about. But as we get down to the south, you see a bunch of isolated storms. Luckily, a lot of these are developing, which if you get too many sometimes, they can kind of disrupt things, and hopefully that's what's happening overall. It'd be great if it was, because it's not the greatest thing to have to go ahead and be taking those tornado precautions here anytime, especially on a holiday weekend here with Juneteenth and Father's Day as well. So again, just have to be kind of cognizant of what's going on here as we're looking off toward the west. You have to just be aware here. You see that wind energy, seeing reports there, 46 earlier toward the Aylen Air Force Base area even, and then 41 Panama City a little bit earlier in the timeline. So some of this wind kind of translating on off. Not anything that requires maybe tropical storm warnings because you're just too far away, but from that actual storm system. But you have the severe thunderstorm warnings for the damage and wind potential and maybe quick spin-up tornadoes. Now they're tracking this axis off toward the north here, north at about 50 miles an hour, but we do have a little easterly component with this as well, as you can see within the radar. In fact, I'll back this up. It may, this loop may be a little bit off here, but I'll try to back this up a little bit. It might skip around. Actually, I don't think it really does because we've been on this just for so long. Sometimes I'll switch radars when I'm not on one, but you can kind of see how things are going here as we just, I think we just got that warning for Randolph County, folks. So we'll be able to wrap it up soon. Might keep it going about the top of the hour here to make sure we don't get anything spinning up toward the south, but about to be able to wrap this up pretty soon. And in these type of environments, you don't want to stay on too much longer, because if you stay on a long time, eventually you're just going to kind of run out of energy because you have more warnings popping up. If you can get a break, it's probably wise to take one here sometimes in these type of tornado setups here. Maybe we'll get lucky, it's possible, but the tornado watch to 8 o'clock tonight, maybe more tornado watches coming up as well. But you see the loop here as you watch things in motion. You see the numbers, kind of watching some of those here on the screen. So again, seeing how things have been going. The tornado warning here no longer in effect, so I'll go ahead and take off our super. That's the good news. You see it going away at the very end there, but we've been tracking this for a while. I mean, our loop going back a while, and still shows at the beginning, so it kind of tells you how long I've been tracking things. But you see the action there coming on up, eventually moving towards some more counties, but maybe a little while because of the overall scenario that we're talking about with this going north. But again, with the easterly component, that's going to kind of help to change things a little bit here for Southwestern Georgia in terms of getting some nastier storms to come in later. Just have to watch some of this action out ahead, but luckily so much has popped up. I'm hopeful, cautiously optimistic, I guess you could say, cautiously optimistic that maybe we'll get kind of lucky and not get any of these to kind of become too strong on their own. But again, the warning no longer there. Now, there is a thunderstorm warning for Stewart and Webster, not in my covered area. It's covered, though, by some Albany stations there, talking about the 60-mile-an-hour wind threat potentially in that region. But they might drop that as that kind of moves on into their area if they don't see anything too robust within the radar signature. So watching some hooks, but again, things look pretty weak at this moment. We'll continue to watch We'll continue to track. We'll put up that loop here on a zoomed in viewpoint here as we have some accent again west of Dothan now. But you see this storm, you see how it went to Clay County, Randolph County, and Georgia. That hook, that really well-defined hook. You see some other hooks to the south here, moving over similar areas, but you see things a little more muddied. But as we get back to the beginning of this frame, you can see how things were really just calm, except for that storm, able to get going, be in this environment, produce that tornado there. Weather Service saying that as we get the updates here, a storm looks like south of KPAM. It seems to be just below severe limits. So continuing to watch out for that as we are looking here this afternoon. We're talking about some different areas at KPAM. They're talking about Tyndall Air Force Base out there down toward areas in the Florida Panhandle. So something they'll be watching out for sure after everything that happened with Michael. You see some wind potential down there as well as you see these thunderstorm warnings off to the west. See a little spin there looking off of Fort Rucker and Washington County. So we'll have to see if that may be required a warning ultimately. You just never know here in this environment. But that'd be a little while before that got into our area. We just have to watch the stuff that's in the area now here, or maybe for new stuff to evolve here in the short term. But the accent out there toward the west, I'll kind of try to get a gauge on how long it might take, because we kind of give you an idea of maybe when we have to come back on, maybe not. It just depends on how things set up. It's highly uncertain. These situations change quickly. I know in the 10 o'clock hour this morning, we had a bunch of tornado warnings to the west, and they went away for a while before we had a storm evolve toward the southeast Alabama, southwest Georgia line. So things definitely can change here in a hurry in these environments. I know maybe 50-mile-an-hour gusts toward Tyndall is what they're saying in the chat, but watching these other thunderstorm warnings in play as well that need to be monitored, of course, here as things do evolve. So just checking here on our distance, maybe about an hour or hour and a half away, give or take, maybe a little in that range. Maybe let's say as we kind of really try to make sure with these tropical setups, we give it a little bit more wiggle room, maybe 45 minutes to an hour and a half away before parts of southwest Georgia to get into some of these super thunderstorm warning type of situations. Don't hold me to that, because again, these situations can be kind of variable, and of course we could have accident develop out ahead. But right now, no active warnings for the area. We're approaching 3 o'clock. We still have that risk 4. As we look at the update, it's going to change. There you go. I know I hadn't put it up today, but this is the risk 4, your Saturday, as we are watching here that threat for some isolated to scattered severe weather in the yellow. As we're looking off toward the green, should be a little bit less frequent in terms of that threat, more on that isolated threat level. But again, still got to watch here. I know we had a report of a tornado down toward Santa Rosa, Escambia counties in Florida earlier. Had a gust there at the airport in Pensacola of 81 miles an hour or so. So it's been a robust day. Had damage there, some issues toward Dolphin Island. Report of a possible injury earlier down there with some debris, flying debris that did end up causing some impacts there. So I'll check on that real quick, because I haven't had a chance actually to get into that in a while, because we've been busy on this tornado warning. So while we're on the tail end of this, it looks like maybe nobody was injured. Just not 100% sure. Some people or some sources, I should say, some different reporters are maybe saying different things, but may have, according to, looks like the Fox station there, a report maybe of an injured person at the Cedar Point fishing pier. It was noted they may have been a homeless man. So again, there's just conflicting reports, because I see WKRG saying maybe nobody was injured, depending on just kind of seeing some different information. Again, that's how things can go sometimes here in these type of scenarios. So again, trying to figure out what's going on. Pickup truck was hit by a large board, according to News 5 there on WKRG. But again, just trying to give you some different reports on what may have happened out there. But again, we're still keeping you up to date. They're talking about maybe issuing a severe thunderstorm warning. They're going to issue a severe thunderstorm warning with a tornado possible tag toward that Tyndall Air Force Base area. So, of course, with what happened during Michael, that does raise a little bit of concern, even though it's out of our area. So, something that we're watching out for sure there in that vicinity, in that area. In fact, let's go over toward that other Doppler real quick. We'll go ahead and switch you on over. So you maybe what's downstream for us later, because we're sending the model data. I won't really get into it too much at this point as we start to wrap it up, but kind of seeing that model data here, folks. And we've seen the threat here of the axis kind of come into play, here for a long time toward the future. So it's going to maybe be a busy evening here as we look ahead in the timeline, maybe even later this afternoon, some busy action coming back into the picture. And then as we look ahead towards Sunday, even isolated severe threat continuing as well. So you see some more action there off of Tyndall Air Force Base. Got to watch out for a spin up there. Some areas of wind enhancement toward Holmes, Watson, and Definiak Springs. Areas there around Holmes County. We're talking not far from Chipley, maybe. You get the idea. Dothan eventually, maybe watching some of this action as well. So is this something to keep in mind as we look out there, as we look to the west, but toward our region right now, not seeing as much in the way of any danger as they issued that thunderstorm warning tornado possible out of our area toward Bay County. And real quick while we're on, one thing I do want to be careful of is, despite, of course, we want to take a break when we can, we also don't want to go off and then have a new warning pop up for our area really quickly. So let's go ahead and look at these storms one more time toward Calhoun County to make sure you guys know where some of this action's headed. In that you see some rotation near Edison, eventually moving here toward areas around Selman. So got to be aware around Selman that we could have something try to evolve in toward that vicinity here with the tornadic circulation, maybe trying to get going in toward that vicinity. It'd be a different one than what we saw go up toward the north, but just got to watch out because we've seen rotation from time to time. You see it kind of come and go, maybe going again a little, so not consistent, not like what we saw for the most part with the other one there where we saw it really consistent for a while, then it would drop off for a bit, but then come back consistent again for a while. It's been a lot less consistent, a lot more on the weaker side. So that's the good news. We're taking a break now. We're going to go ahead and zoom out to the whole area view right here as we leave you on the coverage here this afternoon for the time being. Again, Claudette off toward the west, that center circulation towards southern Mississippi. But again, as we look toward our area here and even areas off toward the west, we'll go ahead and kind of pop that up as well. You see the grand scheme of things here. With the system, the thunderstorm warning toward the panhandle, you see that. You see the tornado watch in the yellow as well. We'll continue to watch things. We'll continue to track things here in the Weather Center and be back as necessary to keep you and your friends and your family safe. Thanks so much for trusting me for now.